January 24, 1958. The New York Times reported today that Puerto Rico's birth rate is decreasing as a result of the continuing heavy rate of female sterilizations and the migration of young people to the mainland. The rate of sterilization ranges from 10% to 42%. 42% of the women working in one factory outside San Juan were found to have been sterilized.
North American troops landed in Puerto Rico in 1898. 2 years later, Charles Allen, first North American civilian governor, complained that there were too many Puerto Rican laborers and poor and not enough men of capital. The corporations soon arrived, and by 1930, they already owned more than half of the land. Displaced from the land by the thousands, the small farmers went to work, planting and harvesting sugarcane. By 1937, unemployment had reached 37%. The Puerto Rican people, now landless, jobless, and uprooted, became what the planners called excess population. The North American governor, Blanton Winship, approved in 1937 Law Number 136, legalizing sterilization. Based on the principles of eugenics, which advocated the breeding of the fit and the weeding out of the unfit, namely the poor and non-white. These laws came, in Winship's words, to fill the urgent need to avoid the menace of the ever-growing population. The needlework industry, piecework in the home and in sweatshops, where women were paid lower wages than men, flourished in Puerto Rico as World War II decimated Europe's garment industry, creating great demand in the world market. The law allowing sterilization was passed precisely when women's labor was the only source of income for thousands of Puerto Rican families, and many women were forced to get sterilized. The fertility of women had great importance among the first inhabitants of Puerto Rico. Each of these fertility symbols represents 1% of the island's women of childbearing age. By 1946, 6.5% of all Puerto Rican women had been sterilized in government hospitals and private clinics.
And now our Caribbean report. Puerto Rico, a beautiful little island with a big problem. Today, April 30th, 1945, Chief of the U.S. Tariff Commission, Mr. Dorfman, has suggested the migration of 1 million Puerto Ricans as part of a plan to reduce the population problem on the island.
This migration was spontaneous inasmuch as the workers decided to migrate in search of jobs, but it was also planned. A confidential report by the island's government suggested in 1955 that 60,000 should leave. Shipping people out was, in effect, official policy. Production underwent rapid transformations during the 1940s. Operation Bootstrap, as the industrialization model was called, offered U.S. corporations tax-free operations, cheap labor, and handsome profits. Regarded by its planners as a showcase for prosperity and democracy, the new economic model further reduced the need for workers. This increased the so-called excess population.
It was known the number of jobs that Bootstrap was going to create would never be enough to occupy the people entering the labor force each year, so that from the beginning, the very earliest plans, it was very clear that a very intensive campaign promoting birth control, sterilization, and other forms of reducing birth were going to have to be put into place.